everybody, welcome to the show. My name is Amanda Ostrander. I am a teacher-turned-homeschool mom, and this is Raising A to Z, a place where we talk about all things homeschooling. And today I'm talking a little bit about game schooling. So this week's video is sponsored by Zookeeper. We'll talk a little bit more about them a little bit later. But first, we're going to start with the question, what is game schooling? So game schooling is essentially the idea that you can homeschool your kids or teach them things or practice academic skills through playing games. And some people take it to the extreme and they don't use any curriculum. They solely use board games and card games and things like that. That's how they teach all of their academic subjects. I'm not one of them. I like the idea that we can play a game that reinforces those subjects. So that's kind of where I fall on the game schooling spectrum. But I do think board games are such a great way to reinforce, to teach, and to practice a lot of those other skills. And so I'm going to show you today some of our favorite board games because Alexi in particular loves board games. Zoe's just getting to the age where I feel like she's actually able to play the board games. So she's not quite into it yet. She'll play a few games here and there, especially very simple games she likes to play. But Alexi, who is 8, loves board games and will play quite advanced board games for her age. So I'm going to show you some of the games that are in our collection and maybe you'll want to add them to your collection. I'm going to start with some math games because I think that would be the easiest. So I'm going to start with some of like the best games that we have. So I love anything by the Uno company. So obviously Uno's great. If you have played Uno, you can find those games pretty much anywhere. Skip-Bo is also by the makers of Uno. This is a little bit more complicated. It involves a little bit more strategy in the sense that you have to kind of make piles and decide what cards to play, what's going to give you the best bang for your buck. But it is a very simple game in the sense that you are basically just matching numbers and doing numbers in order. So it's a great kind of early fundamental game if you have kids who are struggling with like learning their numbers in order, because all you're doing is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and constantly reinforcing those. So this is a great kind of beginner introducing and reinforcing numbers, as well as all the other things that board games teach you, like rules, fair play, a little bit of strategy, those kinds of things. Skip-Bo, great. Anything by the makers of Uno, I find are really, really great. For example, Ono 99, also from the makers of Uno. This is essentially, again, a card game, but your goal is to never get over 99. So some of the cards are like add 5, take away 2, add 10. So you have addition, you have subtraction, and your goal is to always stay under 99. That is the strategy. And so this is great for practicing adding and subtracting. It's great for doing like estimating. It's great for strategy and like, it's just a great math fundamentals game. It's not complicated in the sense that it's very simple. You just stay under 99. 99 or less, you're good. But it does involve a lot of math. So if you're looking for addition and subtraction practice, Ono 99 is great. I will let you on a little tip. I found this one at the dollar store. Dollarama had some of these, and they were on for $4 or $5. Online, the cheapest I can find them is $8. So definitely something you might want to look into if you can find these at the Dollarama. But if you're also looking, another fun place, I was at Costco and I got a Uno pack. So it had like 5 different card games from Uno and they were on sale at Costco for $14, which is ridiculous because Skip-Bo retails for $12. So $14 for 5 games, great steal. So if you're at Costco and you see it, pick it up. It's awesome. All right, other games that we have, I have 2 different games that we predominantly use in our morning basket. So this first one is Canoodle. And basically, it is kind of a puzzle game. So there are other games you can play. You can actually look up online and find like other educational games that you can play with the Canoodle set. But essentially it is, I don't know if you can see, you open it up and it's these little pieces. It's kind of like Tetris pieces. And basically you're trying to solve it. So what you do is you dump them out, you throw 1 or 2 in the bin, you close it, take it up, you lay it flat, you open it, oops, okay, we'll just go with that. And then that's where the pieces lay. And now you're going to try to figure out if you can get all or as many of the other pieces in here. Like that's the point, is to see if you can get all of the pieces back in here. It's very, very simple. You can play, like I said, with one tile is the easiest, or you can add the more tiles, the harder it gets, right? But it is a very simple game. It's a lot of fun. It's very easy to make it harder or easier. And it's a great morning basket activity because you can like just put it in the morning basket, and like once they get the hang of it, they can play it themselves. That is great. And when we're playing Canoodle, we're definitely talking about like problem solving, spatial awareness, shapes, patterns, all those kinds of things are happening, which is all definitely a great game to invest in. It's not overly expensive. I think it runs around $20, but it's a lot of fun. My kids play it all the time. Actually, they take it. It's also a great game to take with you because it's so small. So they often, if we're traveling or if they're going to go, like if we want to go play games or do something at like a coffee shop, this is a great game that we take with us often because it's so compact. That's the word I'm looking for. Compact. Just goes with you. Yeah. So, and if you're wondering how I'm getting these all back in so easily, it does have a little like how to put them back in forward. Anyway. Canoodle, super great game. Okay, in the similar vein, we have Dogpile, which is another puzzle game. This is also a game that I put in my morning basket. And essentially what you have are all these little, like dog pieces. They're all little puzzle pieces shaped like dogs. So it comes with cards and it has different levels. So you have your beginner, your intermediate, your advanced, your experts, your different levels. And then it does have the solution card. So you would have this card and it says you're going to use these 9 dogs. So you would find those 9 dogs and then you're going to use them and you have to make them fit on this, like cover the squares. And you lay it flat and you would like try to cover all the squares. And it says do it in one layer. So that would be like the beginner level. And so you're trying to like, basically it's a puzzle game, spatial awareness, Tetris kind of ideas, shapes, working in 2 and 3 dimensions. It's a super, like I said, not a complicated game, but it is tricky. Like as you get further into it, like the experts here, like this level here, use all 12 dogs and it has to be 4 layers tall. So not just 1 layer, you have to make 4 layers out of it. So, and fit in the shape. So it is not a complicated game, but it is a fun game. It does have how to get them all back in there. That's always important. How do we put this away? But it is a fun game. It's a simple game. It's also, again, a great game for if you're traveling or if you are looking for a game that can go in your morning basket because it's self-contained. You don't need to like figure it out yourselves in a sense. Like you don't need to be there to supervise how they're doing it. You know what I mean? The kids can figure it out quite easily on their own. And like I said, I lost 2 of the pieces just now. I'll find them after. But it is Dogpile. Super great. Like I said, morning basket game for traveling, puzzles, problem solving, all those kinds of mathematical skills. Awesome. Next game on my list is one of my favorite games, Blockus. This is basically kind of like Tetris. So it's a lot of like spatial recognition. Yeah, spatial recognition and getting rid of your points, getting rid of your pieces. So this is your board. It's raised. Yeah. And then you have all the different color pieces. So you can play up to 4 players with this one, which is fun. The more players, the harder it gets. And all your pieces basically sit in the ridges of the game. And so basically what you're doing is you start in the corner and you, on your turn, are trying to expand and get rid of all of your pieces before the next player gets rid of all their pieces or can't play anymore. And the trick to this game, unlike Tetris, which I guess you could like adjust it and play it like Tetris where you're just like filling spaces. This version is you can only touch by the corners. That's the true Blockus version. So you can touch corner to corner, but you cannot like That's a no-no. That doesn't work. So it's only corner to corner. And so you have to basically spread as far as you can. Other colors can touch your board just fine. But you can't touch your own colors. It's only corner to corner. It is all about spatial recognition. It is all about getting rid of your biggest pieces first, which is the strategy, because at the end of the game, when no one can play anymore, how you determine the winner is whoever has the most squares on their board. Whoever has the most squares left unplayed, each square is a point, and lowest number of squares wins. So again, not an overly complicated game, but a lot of fun. Very good for spatial recognition. Very good for shapes, for strategy. Yeah, simple game, but a lot of fun. Highly recommend it. And like I said, because it's not complicated, even young kids can play it. Younger kids can play it. And if you want to make it even easier, like I said, you just play Tetris version where you're just trying to get all your pieces on the board and let them touch. So yeah, you can adjust it down. You can also adjust it up. Blocks. Okay, next game I'm going to recommend if you are looking for a math game, dominoes. We grew up playing dominoes a lot. I don't know, it was like a game my parents found and we all played it. And so dominoes, the thing about dominoes is there's lots you can do with them. So most games do have different instructions. I typically played Mexican Train, which is the game that I played, but you can also just use them to stack and make like contraptions. I do recommend if you're going to get a set of dominoes to play dominoes, that you go with something that's at least a double 12 or higher. Double 12s are just so much easier because you get more playing options. You can go up to I've seen double 16s. I think the game version I had as a kid was a double 16. I highly recommend that, yeah, at least a double 12. It gives you a lot more options in terms of games and in terms of the numbers of players you can play with, because when you only have like double 6s, you can only really play with like 2 players. You play double 12s, I've played with up to 6 people, no problem. It says up to 7 for double 12. So it gives you a little bit of options. The nice thing about it, I also recommend if you're going for a domino set, is that you go with the colored dots. I don't know if you can see, they're colored. These ones are purple, these ones are green. This is a good one, the different colors. And so that does make it a little bit easier, especially if you're trying to play with younger kids. It gives them something else to match. So we're doing a lot of like number recognition, and it just helps them out in that way. Now, the nice thing about dominoes is they're versatile. You can obviously play the games like dominoes, but you can also use this for like addition. You can use it for multiplication. You can use it for fractions. You can build with them. You can make, like when you stack them and knock them over, like there's so much you can do with a set of dominoes that is all math and engineering based. So like it is such a great thing to invest in. And I just think that they're fantastic. I love dominoes. We need to play dominoes again. Next board game that I'm going to recommend if you're looking for a math game, Monopoly. Obviously, I think everyone knows Monopoly. Monopoly is such a great game. We're talking about money. We're talking about addition, subtraction, rolling the dice, counting, all of those great things. We have Monopoly Junior, which is basically like Monopoly, except for there's no mortgaging. So basically, like once you run out of money, you're out of money kind of thing, which really just makes the game quicker, in my opinion. It's the same rules as regular Monopoly. It just makes the game quicker, which with little kids with shorter attention spans, great option. So I would definitely recommend the Monopoly Junior if you have younger kids. And by younger kids, I mean like Zoe can play it. She's 6 and just kind of getting into games. She can play it quite easily. Not that she enjoys it, but Alexi really loves it. And like I said, the only thing that it doesn't have is the mortgaging. So it is a great option, like I said, to just like play Monopoly and shorten it. It's very similar to the classic, which I really like. I do not recommend Monopolies that are digital, because it takes a lot of the math work out for you. So if you can find like a classic Monopoly or like this Monopoly Junior, definitely kind of the better educational versions of them, even though the other ones I'm sure are very cool. But you definitely want to make sure that you have one that has like the paper money, and that's the important part when you're looking at a good Monopoly game. Okay, so definitely Monopoly is great. And then the next game I'm going to recommend was a gift last year from my parents. My parents got Alexi this as her Christmas present. She loves it. So they got her the Game of Life, which this is the classic, the original classic version of the game. Has so much money life lessons in this game. So if you've never played, show you real quick. Where you start depends on your career. And so you pick what kind of career you want, and you're going to either go the college route or the career route. So if you're going college, you're going to have to pay money right off the top to start your life, because you have to pay to go to university or college. If you're going to career, you're going to a job that doesn't necessarily need a degree. And so you get to save a little bit money, but you maybe don't make as much in the end, right? There's different things that happen as you go through. You get paid on certain days. Sometimes you have to get a friend, you have to invest, you can buy a house. You have kids. Sometimes you end up with twins. And so then you get to do you get to retire? And basically at the end, you're trying to see if you can make the most amount of money and not go bankrupt by the end. So it's actually a super fun game. It's a lot of life lessons in a game, which I've never played the Game of Life until we got it last year. And it was awesome. It is awesome. I will say my parents did also get my nephew the Game of Life Mario version. Totally different game. Let me make that very clear. They're not the same game. His version had there was not as much money calculations. There was not as much math. It was very much more like a random roll of the dice kind of game. Whereas this one, there's a lot of strategy that goes into this, and a lot of math and calculating and making decisions that could affect your life. So great game in the original form. So I would definitely, if you recommend the original, I would not recommend the Mario. We got to the end and Alexi was she was playing with her cousin, his Mario version. She's like, I don't know how we win. I don't understand what's the point of the game, because it just seemed like it was very much like a roll of the dice kind of game, which is, if you're into it, like snakes and ladders kind of thing. It basically felt like a snakes and ladders, which is fine if that's what you're getting into, right? When you were getting into thinking it's going to be something similar to this and it's not, it really threw her. But those are kind of my favorite math games. Those are my favorites. I'm going to share with you now some of my favorite language arts spelling literacy games. We're going to start with Bananagram. This is very similar to Scrabble, only the rules are slightly different. Basically, you have little letter tiles and you're trying to make words based off of the letters that you pull into your pile. So you're not scoring by space on the board, which is a big part of Scrabble. It's much simpler. And so in that case, it's a little bit easier for kids. So Bananagram, again, it's a very portable game, which is nice. This is also something that heads to the coffee shop a lot because it's small, it's portable, it's very simple. And so we're doing a lot of spelling. Basically we're spelling. We're doing tons and tons of spelling practice, identifying words, making words, and it's got to be a real word. So Bananagrams is a great game. There are other games you can also play based off of the Bananagram tiles if you want to look online. So it is just a great introductory level spelling game. Okay, this is one that I picked up recently. I gave it to the kids in their back to school bags, is Wordical. Found this online. Basically what you do is everyone gets cards. So these are all consonants. And so you have so many consonants in front of you, right? You draw, I think it's 5 cards. And then you roll the dice, and the dice has all the vowels on them. A, E, I, O, U. And based off of the vowels that come up, you're trying to make as many words as possible. And that's how you score points based off of the cards. And then when the round's over, you put your cards away, draw new cards. So it is a simple game, a compact game, great for traveling, but it is a lot of fun. Alexi's has been playing it a couple times and she's like, I love this game. It is super fun. It's not complicated, but it is great for practicing spelling. And it has made some very interesting questions. Alexi was like, do all words have to have consonants? And we were, have to have vowels. That was a question she asked us just today. Do words have to have vowels? And we're like, yes, they do. So we are looking into that, and it started a whole discussion around spelling. So great game. Love it. Highly recommend. Pickles to Penguins. We got this game, I think it was last year for Christmas. And it is the game of making connections. So this is all about, while it is definitely not a game that is about spelling or about literacy, it is about talking. There's a huge talking element to it. And it is about making connections and pleading your case, essentially. How the game works, every player gets a pile, and you're trying to get rid of as many of your cards as possible on your turn. When you can't play anymore, your turn is over. So there are cards in the middle that have been played, and so you might put down something like, let's say there was a crow. Then I might play airplane because an airplane connects to a crow because those are both things that fly. And so you're going to go through and you have to say why you're making the connection, why you get to play this card. And so it is a great way for encouraging communication. It's a great way for like discussing those connections. And sometimes you have to be a little persuasive as to why that card gets to be played. I'm not going to lie. My husband's very good at finding very strange connections. And he spends a lot of his time trying to convince us that his cards do in fact get to be played. It is a very fun game. Because it's based off of pictures, you don't need to be a reader, so it's great for younger kids as well. It's just great. Pickles to Penguins, awesome game. Awesome game. Charades for kids. Okay, charades, great game because it's all about nonverbal communication, which is what literacy is. We're talking about language arts, we're talking about communicating. And sometimes you do that without reading and without writing. And that is important too. Being able to communicate is important. So this is a great game. It's also great for drama and dramatic play. I like this version because it has pictures. I don't know if you can see that, but it does have a picture. So the first one on every card is a photo. So you can have kids who are not readers play this game and play it very successfully. Zoe loves this game and has for several years since we got it because it is a game that she can play successfully, easily, and it's a very active, moving game. So the game comes with a whole bunch of cards, like a big stack of cards. It comes with your little timer as well as a dice. It has numbers 1, 2, and 3 on this dice. And so for older kids, they have to roll the dice. And so let's say they roll a number 3. They have to pick the number 3 slot on the card. And that's what they're working towards getting people to guess. It's not an overly expensive game. You find this game often for under $10. I've given this game away as gifts at birthday parties to my kids' friends several times. It's a great game. It's very good for if you have a kid who's active and wants to get up. Let them be active. Let them show their dramatic skills. Charades for kids. Great. Scrabble. I think we can all agree when you think of games that teach spelling, Scrabble comes to the top of your mind. Obviously, if you have older kids, classic Scrabble is the way to go. But if you have younger kids, Scrabble Junior is fantastic. I will show you why. So when you're playing Scrabble at original, you score points for every tile you play, so you have to add them all up. And then you have sometimes, depending on where you play on the board, you get the double point or the triple point or whatever. That's very complicated for kids. So basically this junior version simplifies it a little bit. So you would pick a character like this yellow guy. They have the characters here. And every time you play from your 7 tiles that you have, you get to play 2 tiles on every turn. And so you can put them anywhere on the board as long as the word has been started. So you can play L, you can play A, it has to be the next letter. But you can place them anywhere. So I can play L up here. I can play the W down here. And then when you finish the word, if I played the G to finish off Ladybug, then I get the point and I just move my character up the number 1 to 1 point for finishing the word. If I finish a word that is the same color as my character, for example, like lemon or bus, then I get to move up 2 points. They've just really simplified the points version of the game. And so this is great if you have kids who are just starting to play, starting to spell, because it's basically focusing on matching and finishing words. It just simplifies it a lot. So great game for kids. I would say it says ages 5 and up. I'd say if you have a precocious 4-year-old who's really into spelling or reading, awesome game as well. The other reason I like it is because you can turn it around and it becomes a simplified Scrabble board. So you could play by making your own words on the other side. Yes, it doesn't have any double word scores or triple word scores or anything like that, but there is like, you can play a more advanced version on the other side, which is nice. I love games that kind of grow with you. And I will say Scrabble goes on sale a lot on Amazon. So great game, highly recommend it. The last game I have in my literacy language arts kind of section is a brand new game to us. This will actually be a Christmas gift. It's Starport. So if you're like, Amanda, that's not a game, that is a book. Right. It is a introduction to role-playing games. So if you have ever heard of like Dungeons and Dragons, which is basically storytelling. So you pick a character and you have to make decisions, and then based off the decision you make, you roll the dice, and then it prompts you to follow different paths depending on what the decision of the dice and decisions you've made are. It's basically really like a game version of storytelling where there's kind of an element that's been gamified. That's what Starport is. It is basically a kids version of D&D in the sense that it is an introduction to role-playing games. So you pick the characters, you make the decisions, and it walks you through it. You start on chapter 1, and it tells you exactly how to play, exactly where to go, what you're going to be doing, what dice, like what the different dice are. And it's basically like making stories, essentially. It is storytelling, it is gameplay, and you have to make decisions based off what's good for your character, not everybody else. So it's kind of like, what is going to be my character's story in like the bigger story of what's happening here. So, but other people's characters can influence what's happening to your character. It's basically like writing your own novel every time you play. It is, I think my kids are going to love this. I actually got this for Zoe because Zoe loves storytelling, and I thought this would be a great option to get her a little bit more involved in our games. And like, I got it for Zoe, but I know Alexi's going to go nuts for this. So definitely, it's designed for ages kids 5 and up. So like, if you're wanting to get into like role-playing games and you're not sure how to do that, or you have kids who want to do it because you're a big D&D fan and you want to like introduce them into that without it being so intense, this is what you want. Another great way to add some game schooling to your household, sign up for a subscription like Night Zookeeper. If you're looking for a way to get your kids into reading and writing, then Night Zookeeper might be what you're looking for. Kids make characters, care for super cool semi-mythical zoo creatures, read prompts, and write stories. They learn spelling, grammar, and story writing all while playing an online game. It's so engaging that my daughter doesn't even realize that she's learning. I love it when you can make screen time educational and fun, and with Night Zookeeper, you can do exactly that. Click on my referral link below to try it out for yourself. You'll get a 7-day free trial as well as a special half-price option. This is a great game for kids ages 6 to 12, and it is a great way to add some game schooling to your household. The last section of games I have, I just call these other games because I'm not really sure what they teach in terms of math or language, but they're fun games. And I think all games have certain things that they're teaching. They teach kids to take turns, to follow instructions, to strategize. And so I just love games in general. So here are some games that we play a lot in our house, or that our kids will be playing, because some of these are gifts. Do not tell them. So I'm going to show you some of the games that we have that I think are going to they're just great games. So last year, one of our gifts was Honeycombs. So this is a great game if you have kids who are not readers yet, because you can play without readers, without having to read. There are multiple versions of this game that you can play, like multiple games you can play with the tiles, but you don't have to read. So it's all simple, it's all matching, it's all figuring out how to make the connections between the tiles. So I don't know if you can see, they all have different they're all little tiles. And basically you would have your section of tiles and you have to match up the sides. So like I have to match up this green, what is it called? Green beehive to this green beehive. I would have to find a tile that has a green beehive and a honey pot that would go there. I don't actually have one right now, but like hypothetically, they go like that. It's very, very simple in that sense. Like I said, there's multiple games that can go with it. It's great if you're not if you have kids who aren't readers, it's very tactile. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's lots of games that can go with it. Some of the games are quite quick as well, which is kind of nice when you want to play a game that's not super long. The simplest version, which like I was saying was the matching game, it's a race. So our games on average last about 3 minutes. So you can do multiple games. You can try different things. It's a really fun game. I highly recommend it. Alexi really likes it. We play these games elsewhere, and so I know that they're fun, but I haven't, my kids are getting them for Christmas for themselves this year. So Unstable Unicorns for kids. There is an adult version. The kids is just a little bit simplified. But basically, Unstable Unicorn is a card game where you're introducing players to the magical world of unicorns and strategy. So you're trying to build an army, essentially, of unicorns and take over and beat your opponent's armies. It is a card game. It's a lot of fun. I have found these on sale for like $10, $9 over the last couple of months. And so this has been a very popular birthday gift that I've given, and I have not had any complaints about it. People have said they've loved it. So I definitely got one for my kids because I thought they would love it as well. Unstable Unicorns, lots of strategy, which is the key of this game. Building your army. Strategy, important. Another game that we've played with friends, taco versus burrito. So you are trying to build the best taco ever by collecting different cards to make the taco, but other players can collect cards that can ruin your taco. And so there's like a whole strategy. There's a point system of like what you want to do. You want to make sure that yours is the best. It is a fun game. It does not take long to learn. It does not take long to play. Again, we're looking, sometimes you want to do something quick. It says on average, this game takes about 15 minutes to play and 3 minutes to learn. It's not complicated. You can play with up to 4 people. Again, sometimes you just want a game that's 2 people and it works out great. This is awesome. Ages 7 and up. We've had a lot of fun, and I think this is going to be a big hit this year. We have played this at co-op a couple of times. King Domino. It's similar to Domino in the sense that you're trying to match your tiles to other tiles. But you're also trying to like build your kingdom. So there's like a game, like a world building element of it. Because the more you build and the more you secure it by making it into a kingdom and like moving your kingdom and your crowns outwards, the more stable your kingdom is. Zoe loves it. It's not a game where you have to read or like really be complicated about it. Again, another game where you don't need a whole bunch of players. You can play with 2 to 4 players, and every round takes about 15-ish minutes. Great game for younger kids who are just learning how to play or don't have a really long attention span. Zoe has played this with friends at co-op, and she really, really liked it. So picked it up for Christmas. Then 2 more games I'm going to recommend. Clue. If you're looking for a game that is all about strategy, that is about figuring things out, problem solving, Clue. This is the classic version. I have seen the junior version. The junior version is not much different than the classic version. Like, it's really, really not. So I would definitely just recommend the classic version because it goes on sale a lot more often than the junior version. You can play up to 6 players. It's exactly how you remember it from when you were a kid, where you have to figure out who killed the guy in what room with what weapon. It is just like, it's such a great game because you're doing a lot of like process of elimination. You're looking at the evidence. You're watching your other players. There's lots of strategy that goes into it. A lot of problem solving, and it's great. Oddly enough, this is a game Zoe loves. You have to be able to read to like check off the things. So she plays with a partner, usually me or my husband, but Zoe loves this game. She also went through a phase where murder was her favorite word. I don't understand my kid, but like that was something she really loved. So she thought this game, because she's a little bit morbid, is a hoot. She loves Clue. It's one of the games that gets the most play in our house. So I have to recommend it. It's a great game. Super fun. And then the last game I'm going to recommend, if you have kids that are like ages, I would say like 8 and up. Ooh, I don't like this. Catan Family Edition. So if you are not going to really get into like Catan, If you're like, I just want to have some different games that are just fun, yeah, I'm not gonna like get really into like advanced Catan, this is a great option because it's a completely self-contained game. You can't buy any expansion packs for the family edition, so it's basically like a one-stop shop. Like it's one game. Other editions you can buy expansion packs and make the game bigger and more complicated. This is really fun. Alexi really enjoys it. Basically, you are trying to make roads in cities that are connecting different types of different hexagons, and each hexagon has a different thing that it produces. So sometimes you're connected to a field that produces wheat. Sometimes your hexagon is like a woodland that makes wood. And then you're going to when it's your turn, you can trade your cards that have been produced, that have produced these different resources with other people to get the cards that you need, because there's different combinations that allow you to do things. So like, for example, cards. If you have a wood and a brick, card, that lets you build a road. If you have a wood, a brick, wool, and a wheat card, that lets you build a city, a settlement. If you have 3 ores and 2 wheats, it lets you build a city. And then you can buy development cards, which are like bonus cards. Sometimes they let you build, sometimes they give you different points, different things. And so basically every time you build settlements, a settlement's worth 1 point, a city is worth 2. Sometimes you can get other points for other things. But basically it is all about like resources and making trades. And so like, it's a really fun game. Alexi loves this game. Zoe basically just plays with the pieces and just watches. She's not into it at this point, but Alexi loves this. So we've played it with a couple different people and they've all been like, I will say this is probably the longest game that I have suggested. It is a bit of a long game. We're averaging about an hour and a half to play a whole round. But like, it's a great game for like family game night if you have older kids to sit down and play this. Alexi loves it. It is a little bit longer. It is a little bit more in depth. It does require at least 3 players, I will say. But it is super fun. And you're doing a lot of like communication, a lot of like trading, you're making strategies, you're trying to figure out where the best direction to go is. Like there's a lot of strategy that goes into this game. And it is a lot of fun. So if you have older kids, this is definitely a game that I would highly recommend because there's lots that's happening. So much that's happening in this game that it's a little confusing the first time you play it. But once you kind of get the hang of it, you're like, oh, this is actually quite simple. And it's just fun. So highly recommend Catan Family Edition. So that's it. That is all the games that I have recommended for this year. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to our sponsor, Night Zookeeper. Make sure you check them out down below. Definitely want to make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok so you can see how we play these games on a regular basis or how I implement them into my homeschooling routine. And you might want to consider becoming a YouTube member so you get bonus videos, bonus content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.